and indeed from national to the grassroots here. So, and we're very lucky, of course, in Gloucestershire to have the national chair, Simon Murray, as chair of our Forest of Dean district. And I have apologies from Simon, who was going to come here today and share some thoughts about national, but he can't come because he's required to be at a finance meeting for national this afternoon. So sorry about that. You'll make do with me instead. So welcome everybody and thank you for coming. And before I go on to talk about apologies, I should just say that if you haven't found them, there are loos just outside over sort of by the door, and we will at the end of this meeting, come in, you're welcome, adjourn for tea. And
we hope, yeah, more than just biscuits, we're hoping sandwiches and cakes. So
it's a bit traditional with CPRE Gloucestershire. It's like this stuff about tea and cake, but anyway, we're hoping to do that. So we have only, apart from Simon, we only have apologies from Pippa Schwartz from the Stroud district, who will hopefully be joining us tonight. So the first thing I have to do on your agenda is invite you to approve the minutes of the annual general meeting this time last year, 29th of June 22. Could I have, unless anybody's got any questions, could I have a proposer, please? Approve. Your hand was up first. And a seconder, please. Thank you, Julian. I don't know if anybody's taken the minutes. This is quite important, isn't it?
yes. Everyone's looking at Tilly.
Can you write down? It's only a few decisions, but they are quite important decisions. There's somebody else coming. Hello. Please don't rush. Please don't rush. We're fine. I forgot to.
Would you like me to take the minutes?
I'd love you to take the minutes, David. Thank you so much.
I think you should take them to practice.
Yeah, I should. I forgot to say, under the apologies, I'm sorry to report that our president, Charles Martel, has had to stand down due to ill health. And I'm sure you would join me in wishing him well. I haven't been in touch with him for a couple of weeks, but I'm still in touch with him an email, but I hope he makes a good recovery, but he has had to decide not to continue as our president. So we will have to think about a new president. But today we're not thinking about 2023, we're thinking about 2022. So we're looking at the minutes of last year's meeting, which have been proposed and seconded and are therefore agreed. Does anybody want to bring up anything from these exciting minutes from last year? For which I think we have to thank David Brooke as well.
Yes.
Okay, in which case we go on to the first substantive item, and I'm going to ask Steve Smith to lead us through this particular bit.
Lead it as well, okay.
Perhaps you'd introduce yourself, Steve.
Yes, sorry. I'm Steve Smith. I'm a trustee. Do I have to stand in the middle?
No, it's quite wide. Yeah. So
I'm a trustee and the vice chair. We have a little bit of a complicated part of this agenda, and it will only be, I hope, for this year. I think it will only be for this year. Just to very briefly explain why we've got two charities listed there. CPRE used to be what's called an unincorporated charity. In December 2019, we set up a new charity structure called a CIO, Charitable Incorporated Organisation, and the Charity Commission want all charities to go that way. under normal circumstances, what you do is you move everything from the old charity to the new charity and you close the old charity. We have decided not to close the old charity for the time being. And the reason for that is legacies, because in people's wills, they might have specified the old charity. So we want to make sure that there's no confusion and that charity will stay open really as a shell company with £1 in it. And we will then operate the new charity. Now, it has taken a long time to get the new charity, the CIO, operational, and that is really down to Lloyds Bank. The new charity had to have a different bank account, and we went through the COVID years, and Lloyds took nearly 2 years, probably, I think, Julian, to give us a bank account.
2.5.
2.5.
Don't
Yeah, to give us a bank account. So we couldn't move everything from the old charity to the new charity until we got that bank account, and that didn't happen until March, April 2022. So last year, we were effectively running 2 charities. There was money coming in and out the old charity. There was money coming in and out the new charity. Now, as of 2023, we'll just be talking about the new charity. So for 2022, we just have to approve the accounts for that and the accounts for the new charity. Julian is going to present the combined because that's the only thing that makes sense to everybody. But bureaucratically, for the Charity Commission, we have to present, if you like, the trading of the 2 different charities. The other thing we have to do, because the trustees of the old charity were not the same as the new charity, we are electing the trustees to be the same. So the trustees of the new CIO, we just need to elect them to be the trustees of the old charity as well. So it all matches. But as I say, from next year, you'll only hear about the new charity. Okay, and we will be doing things with the old charity with the Charity Commission, but it's just filing a nil return and just keeping things up to date. So that's why it looks a bit bureaucratic. So would you like?
We need to do adoption of the Treasurer's report and accounts.
So what would you like to, Julian, do you want to say anything about what Julian's going to do is present the combined. So I would probably, I don't know, ask you to adopt them after, perhaps. Yes. Maybe we should adopt them after you've presented them. Okay. But we do need to elect the trustees maybe as a batch rather than individually. Patricia, so if everybody's happy.
No, I'm not, because my name's not on there. Why is my name not on
because
there?
You're going to be elected as treasurer.
You're going to be elected as treasurer.
Where does it say that?
The second item 8.
Yes, but I'm talking about item 5.
The other one, you're right.
That's the old charity.
So
I should be a trustee of the old charity.
Yes, you should.
Right.
Yeah.
We make sure we minute that.
Well, it's not that, Patricia. I shall need someone to propose and second me. You may not want me.
Yeah.
I'm proposing Julian from the old charity.
Thank you, Prue.
And the Miranda's seconded.
Thank you. There we go. Lots of seconders.
Oh, gosh. What face?
Thanks for spotting that, Julian.
And I think if we can just propose, somebody can propose the remaining trustees as one, rather than go through individually. Is that okay? Yeah.
You can't really. I prefer to have somebody who's not a trustee to propose it. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel Cunningham. Yeah. And seconded. Thank you, Peter Cornish.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. So now we get to the business of the current proper charity, the Gloucestershire CIO, and I ask you, Julian, to come and present the accounts, please. I imagine everybody knows Julian, but he is our. He's been
treasurer since 2015. If you haven't seen me, you've probably read my name. That's what it is.
Exactly.
By the way, no screen.
No.
Well, good afternoon again, everyone. The lack of light, that's probably all right.
You can put the light on.
No, it's all right. I think I can manage to shift. Thank you. I had my eyes seen to just before Christmas. So
it doesn't help though, does it?
Well, I'll tell you what doesn't help, actually. Here's just a point for you, Tim. Having white printed on pale blue. Not the best colour combination, but never mind. And that's the on Treasurer's report, which is the bottom of page 10 in the review document, where I did just say a few words. And what I said in its essence was,
Sorry, if anyone would like a copy, just on the annual review is Matilda will give out some of those.
yes, annual review 2022, and it's page 10.
Page 10.
It's the bottom right hand corner of page 10, where it is printed white on blue. I did say there that 2022 hadn't been a terribly good year. We'd exceeded our budget on spending, and we hadn't got in as much money as we should have done. So it's a bit of a sort of like Dickens' Mr. Micawber, you know, we're not really going the right way. We're going to have to try and improve on that in future years. This year, just to come into this year, we do have a generous legacy coming in. We've already had some of it, which is a great help, but we frankly could do with some more legacies. That would be very nice in the next few years. You know, I'm probably one of the eldest of you here, but you know, I still feel that it is a big source, has been in the past, a big source of for this charity, a big source of income. More, in fact, than the total of all the subscriptions in the last 15 years or so. We've had more money from legacies, and long may it continue. If people are so generous, that would be absolutely marvellous. Anyway, otherwise, I don't think I've got very much to say about the figures. They're not very special. The only other point is that, of course, last year was not a very good year in investment terms either. The markets were still pretty volatile after all the disturbance of COVID, other things going on globally. This country certainly was not immune from all that. So we've ended up with still, at the moment, at the end of March this year, we had over 220,000 still in investment. We will have this legacy coming in very shortly, which will push us up well over 250,000. However, at the rate we're running the charity at the moment, that isn't going to last us forever. It certainly is not. It's going to last us at the best for 4 or 5 years. We need more income, quite honestly, if we're to continue in the way that we are at the moment, with the staffing we have and with all the achievements that we're making at the moment. So, you know, hopefully things are looking fairly decent this year so far, but we've got to bear this in mind all the time, that if we want to continue as a thoroughly active and useful charity in Gloucestershire, then we really have got to have our eyes on the money and getting some more money in from somewhere. And it's not going to come from subscriptions, alas. It's just not that sort of money that we're going to need. I don't think I need to say any more, but if anyone has any questions at all, I'd like to answer any comments.
Can I just interpose that there is a full copy of the financial statements, it's called, isn't it?
Well, it is, but I should just explain, if you what Steve said, the figures that are in this document, which is some of you just picked up, they're actually what we call in accountants in terms consolidated. In other words, both the charities are merged. Now, again, what Steve was saying, there were 2 separate charities. What we have here is a set of accounts for each of those charities, which have been audited and signed off by our independent examiners, as they're called nowadays, not auditors. If anyone wants a copy of either of those, you would need both of them together, and then you'd have to put them together to get any sense out of it.
There are copies on the table.
There are indeed, but they're not just the one, of both. So they both charities have been signed off. We probably will have a similar situation in the current year, because we decided, as Steve said, that we would keep the old charity open in case of any legacies and getting the right charity number. And we've at the moment also kept the old bank account open in case of any transactions there. And there have been 1 or 2, so we probably will still have this business, unfortunately, of having 2 lots of audited accounts. But my guess is that the audited accounts of the old charity will be very trivial, so almost meaningless, because there are very few small transactions now going through. Anyway.
So thank you very much, Julian. And so just to reiterate, if you're interested in the detail of either the new charity or the old charity accounts, you're welcome to take a copy as you leave. But at the moment, we're asking for questions, aren't we?
Yes, anyone's got any questions at all?
Or comments.
Or comments, yeah.
Have our direct debits been transferred to the new charity?
Most of them have. I've got one or two still running in the old one. The main one that is going is that we decided when all this lovely money was offered by the Chancellor at the time, I can't remember who it was, back when COVID started, we decided to take up one of these bounce back loan schemes, which were offered, which I think at the time was about 7,000, 8,000, which had a very attractive interest rate at the time, only 2.5%. I've kept that one going, but we had to pay a little bit back every month and just keep going until 2026, because it's quite a cheap way to borrow money, quite honestly. So it's a help. I think we've got about 4,500 left to pay back.
Any other comments or questions? In which case I need a proposer to adopt the Honorary Treasurer's report, consolidated report and accounts, please. David Croft's got in first, I think. Would you like to second it, Colin? So that's okay, they are approved. Thank you very much, Julian, and we should take this opportunity of thanking you for all the work. Oh yeah, we've got all the copies of everything in the front here. I'm just about to make a speech of thanks, Julian, to say we appreciate all the work you do offline, as it were, for us and your capacity as Treasurer, and thank you very much. So the next exciting item is the appointment of Andorran Limited Chartered Accountants, Manor Park, Cheltenham, as our reporting accountants. I need a proposer, unless anybody's got any questions. Can I have a proposer for that?
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, please.
Chairman, that is that I didn't get another quote from them for doing the extra audit, but I expect the audit fee will go up. So whether it will go up proportionally, I very hope not. Just a small point, but they have had to do extra work.
But you recommend them, presumably?
Yes, I would. But you know, I think we should charge Lloyd's Bank for the extra.
Yeah. I think Julian's got Lloyd's Bank tattooed, not on his heart, but somewhere else.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't go there. Is somebody willing to propose the accounts, please? Thank you, Max. Steve seems to be a good seconder. Thank you. So that's, sorry, it wasn't the accounts. It was the, I beg your pardon, it was the auditors. But is it still stand, Max? Are you still happy with that? And Steve, right. Okay, and now we come to the next formal item, the election of officers, and the Board of Trustees proposes the same vice presidents as previously. And welcome, Adrian, here to represent the vice presidents. Pleased to see you. The other vice presidents are not here, but they are active in the background in various ways. So are you willing to elect Dame Fiona Reynolds, the Earl of Weems and March, the Earl of Harrowby, and Professor Adrian Phillips as our vice presidents? Don't need to propose all these things, do we? We'll do it on block at the end. Yeah, I better just ask you to do the next bit, Steve.
Okay, we would very much like Patricia to stay, because she's an excellent chair. And she's volunteered to stay. So I would definitely propose that she stays. So if anybody seconds, or everybody there.
Oh, look, that's very hard. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Steve. Didn't have to pay too much. So we have two vice chairs nominated, Richard Lloyd and Steve Smith. Can I take your assent to that? Good. And the honorary treasurer, as you've already heard, is Julian Oxley. Can we agree to that too, please? Those officers can be, well, can I have a show of hands, please? That's probably the best way of dealing with it. Are you content for those officers? Anyone against? Thank you very much. And then we come to the election of trustees, and it says there the chair, the vice chair, Steve Smith, And the honorary treasurer, sorry, if you're confused, it's because Richard Lloyd is vice chair but no longer a trustee, because he was a trustee for a very long time and is not allowed to be a trustee still. But he's still being Richard Lloyd and still being a wonderful vice chair, so thank you. So we've elected already the chair, the vice chair, Steve Smith, the honourable treasurer, and we need now to elect the current trustees who are all happy to put themselves forward. No new nominations there. And you see the names in front of you or on the screen, I presume. Are they?
Yep.
I can't see in the back of my head.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Right. So two of those trustees are not here. I know Richard Tyson and Heather Mackenzie are both were co-opted trustees during the course of the year, and they are now being formalised as full trustees and are recommended to you by the board. So again, perhaps I could have a show of hands if you're content. All those in favour of electing those trustees. Thank you. And anyone against? No, good. So that was very straightforward this year. And so we come to the chairman's report. I should say that I'm going to highlight bits of my report, but the full text is available for you either to take away or will be available presumably online at some point.
We'll have to do it online, but we can send it out as well via email.
And also you're recording this meeting, aren't you?
We are, yes. So if you wish to be on camera, you can come to the front.
Well, I think I'll do this sitting down because I don't really, would you prefer me to stand up? Is it easier? Right, well, I mean, Julian sounded a slightly sad note in his report about money, but I'm actually very bullish. I think we've had a really good year, and it's very hard to separate 2022 from 2023 because it all melds into the same thing. But we are gathering a great deal of momentum in the charity. And I think it's true to say that we are continuing to pursue our core goals. And I've put in my report a reminder of what those core goals are. Firstly, we're here, all of you are here because you support us in promoting and encouraging the improvement and protection of the countryside of Gloucestershire. Not just the countryside, but also its towns and villages. And sometimes we forget that, but it's rural life across the board. We want to develop the rural environment for the benefit of everybody, those who live in this countryside and those who don't but like to visit it. And that, of course, is a very wide remit these days. It's not just protecting the natural beauty of our countryside, which is absolutely stunning at the moment. And I don't know about you, but it takes my breath away how beautiful it is at the moment. But there's the biodiversity, the economy of the countryside, the sustainability of our rural life, our rural way of life, and also the challenge that of new forms of energy, affordable housing supply, problems of rural transport, and increasing local food supply. It's worth reiterating those topics because today, as I think I've mentioned to some people at least, CPRE National have launched their latest campaign with a seminar that a few of us attended this morning on rooftop renewables. So trying to persuade the government, who seem not to want to listen, that we can put the solar panels that we desperately need to increase our renewable energy supply on industrial buildings of all kinds, like car parks and warehouses and those kinds of places, and not build on our solar farms on our green fields. So this is a very big development today. And I should mention that the new National Chief Executive, you may or may not have picked up, is a chap called Roger Mortlock. He's been in the job at least 2 weeks, and he was formerly the director of the Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust. He lives in Minchinhampton. So we now have the chair, the national chair comes from Gloucestershire, the vice chair comes from Gloucestershire, and the chief executive comes from Gloucestershire. So this is a really good Gloucestershire takeover. But we all three of those people have a very good understanding of the countryside. And I helped to appoint Roger Mortlock to his role, and I'm really excited. He's going to be a breath of fresh air in the national organisation and do lots of good stuff. And I think one or two of us felt he spoke well on the screen this morning. So the challenge for CPRE, I think, as we're beginning to think towards our centenary in 2 or 3 years' time, that there is so many challenges that we need to think about, not just renewable energy, but individuals here today have been working on all sorts of different aspects of those topics I mentioned, like rural transport and affordable housing, which is always very close to our hearts. And it is a very demanding agenda, and we work hard to pursue it. And for that reason, I think my major task today is to pay tribute to the people who make that happen. I'd like to explicitly thank all the trustees that you've just elected, who aren't just occasionally coming to the odd meeting. Every single one of them works very hard as an individual to support the work of CPRE Gloucestershire. And I think you would agree that each of them have talents and experience and knowledge, which together make a very powerful combination. We also have our district committee members who do an extraordinary job. I'm glad to see our district committee chairs, most of them represented here today. I'm not going to name you, embarrass you, but thank you for everything you do. And please pass our thanks on to the local committee members who steadfastly pursue particularly planning applications which are not welcome. And we have volunteers, and some of you here are volunteers, and those volunteers are important. But I left till last our staff. I'm glad we have staff. We wouldn't be able to achieve a lot of what we do achieve without staff. So most of you will know Tim here, who joined us in May 22, March 22? March-ish.
Yeah, it's a bit of phased.
It phased. Anyway, Tim put in my report things that make your ears burn, Tim. Tim comes from formerly being a school teacher at Catherine Lady Berkeley School near where I live, and runs his own orchard cider making charity called Orchard Revival, based on reviving old trees. Is that fair?
Yeah, pretty much.
And so Tim has been our director for a year and has been an absolute whirlwind of, hit the ground running. Tim has worked tirelessly to improve the running of our organisation, increased our online presence, and just generally raised our profile, including, for those of you who don't know, an appearance on Country File and an appearance on Gardener's World. I think it was in 2022.
It was. And then, there was Good Morning Britain, but that's this year.
Yeah, you can't count that. Anyway, he's very good at media, but we're very grateful to you, Tim, for everything that you've worked so hard to achieve this year. And as a result, and one of the things I can't report on that didn't happen in 2022 is the advent of Tilly over there. So this isn't part of my report, but I would like formally to mention Matilda Jones, who has joined us as our events and engagement officer. So she supports Tim in the work that he does. And you joined in February, didn't you? So this time next year, we'll be talking about how wonderful you are. I will go on. Last year, we said goodbye to a previous administrative person, Indiana Knight, who sadly got poorly. And recently, because of creating Matilda's job, we said goodbye to Kimberly Seville, who had been running our communications branch as a consultant. And I'd like to also pay tribute, I hope it will appear in a minute, to Jill Rakes, who continues as our fundraising manager and did a great deal of work for us in 2022 on a very part-time basis. But as the former chief fundraiser for the National Trust, she's a very useful person to have on our team. Many of you will have met her at Hynham, I think, at the event at Hynham Court last year. So I mentioned Hynham Court, and it was a lovely event that we had in June last year that many, many people came to and I think enjoyed. Many more members came to our tour of the Colesbourne Arboretum, led by its owner, Sir Henry Elwes. And the final event of 2022, again, most of you will know, was in Leckhampton Parish Church, where we had an extremely successful carol concert attended by some 80 people. It was extraordinarily successful, given that the place was buried deep in snow and very difficult to get to. We had the usual stalls last year at Stroud Show and the Frampton Country Fair, and I was delighted to be able to represent CPRE Gloucestershire at the Norton in Marsh show as its president last year. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me to learn about country life and breeding and cows and sheep and goats and all sorts. It was a great show. Last year, as you know, we had our AGM again here last June. And just to remind you, as you've already heard, that we agreed to approve moving towards becoming a CIO. And that just prompts me to thank David Brooke, who stood down as a trustee last year, but you can minute that, David, because he did a huge amount of work last year, both as acting interim voluntary director before Tim joined us, and also in steering us very successfully towards becoming a new kind of charity, the new CIO. Thank you, David. It's an opportunity again. We did it last year, but we'll say it again. Thank you. Yeah, my report goes on to say who was elected and re-elected, and I've mentioned Charles Martell, who was re-elected as our president last year and sadly can't be this year. So just to say that the Board of Trustees meets regularly on your behalf. We met 5 times last year, and the board also is supported by a very active policy subcommittee that Richard Lloyd chairs, which all our districts are represented on by their chairs. So it's a really useful and a very expert group of people. I think the next thing I'd like to just mention is our annual awards. Again, huge thanks to Richard Lloyd for masterminding that. How many years is it? 13?
13, yes.
It's a big thing for us, our awards, and gets us a lot of good publicity because it's so positive in celebrating outstanding benefits to Gloucestershire's environment, people and local communities. We have now made in total 90 awards, and last year was notable because our fundraiser, Jill Rakes, managed to get us a sponsor for a new award, which was that on climate change, an award in response to climate change, which is sponsored by Savills. And they supported an award to Barnwood Park Environmental Improvements. This is coming up the edits. So you've got a list behind me of, if I was standing up, I could probably see the screen, couldn't I? Sorry. There we are. So you've got a list of all the awards, which you've read about, no doubt, in the annual report. And the judges that work to produce those annual reports, the awards are identified by a separate panel of judges. And I'd like very much to minute my thanks to them for their expert work on that. I couldn't begin to report on all the campaigning and so on work that we do. I've mentioned the response to planning applications that goes on quietly and consistently all the time and is a central feature of the work of CPRE groups up and down the country, as I think we all know. We are now and continue to be preoccupied too with work not only on countryside but on the impact of quarries. And thank you to David Crofts and Bob Brown in particular, wherever Bob is, I can't see him, for your work. I mean, tremendously expert work on saying why the quarries that people want to have might not be desirable. But there is an issue apparently with the cumulative impact of some of these things that one in themselves might not be a problem, but when there are lots, the cumulative impact is much more than the sum of the parts. And just to briefly mention, because you will have seen it perhaps on the website, the beginnings of what has become a very big campaign last year, which was the proposal for a vehicle truck stop in the AONB north of Cirencester. That is recently been gone to appeal, but it started in 2022. So those are just very small illustrations of really what we're here to do, which is to protect our countryside as well as try to enhance it. And going on to the cheerful topic of enhancement, you'll all know that hedgerows have been a main focus of our campaigning last year, and 4 kilometres of new hedgerows were planted by us in partnership with FWAG, the Farming and Wildlife Advisory Group, and Friends of the Cotswolds. And that's still going on, but hedgerows are beginning to take a backseat as we get towards a focus on rooftop renewables. We do have important partnerships with bodies like the Cotswolds Canals Connected Trust and the Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust, and this is both local and nationally. These partnerships enable us to do much more than we would be able to do on our own. And as you probably know, we work with other CPREs, particularly those in the south, in the counties of the southwest, and also, of course, more and more we try to support CPRE National when they want to gather together the voices of all local CPREs to a one CPRE response for government. So that's all good, more or less good, but it's all good and positive. But as Julian's already intimated, we do face nationally and locally declining membership. We have tried very hard, as you've heard and read, to attract more members by having interesting events. And we're delighted that later on today we will have the talk from Professor Paul Bates, who has very nobly come in advance to sit through our AGM. So thank you and welcome, Paul. She'll welcome you again. So we hope that those sorts of events will attract more people, and by the same token, but that attraction of interest and support we are finding across the country doesn't readily translate into membership. And this is a challenge of our age, really, I think. But we are still the 10th largest CPRE, the 10th largest local group in the CPRE network. So I want to finish my speech before I hand over to Tim by formally thanking our members, those of you who are here as members and supporters, because as I write regularly in our newsletters, it's what our members do in supporting what we do that enables us to exist and enables us to continue to fight, to protect and enhance our amazing countryside in Gloucestershire. We are so lucky to belong to this county. I know lots of other beautiful counties out there, but the countryside here really does deserve our efforts to protect it. So thank you, everybody. And for those who are not here, but who might be watching this later on the web, on YouTube or whatever, thank you to everyone who supports us in any way at all. We are deeply grateful and hope that you will continue to do so. Thank you. So I did ask Tim if he would like to, I mean, he lives and breathes this stuff every day. So I thought it would be nice if he had a chance to talk to you as well as me about what's going on at CPRE.
Lovely. Right. I'm going to apologise because I can't do this sitting down, I'm afraid. I just need to move. Right. Okay. So
he's a teacher.
I know. Sorry. Well, I was not anymore. But so I guess I'll tell you a little story. I'll start with, because you mentioned about me being a teacher. And some of you may know him, but there was a fantastic teacher when I was at school called Alan Pilbeam. And Alan Pilbeam has written a number of books about Gloucestershire, and he's still on the circuit doing kind of talks for local history societies. He's also a preacher in the Free Church as well. But he just got me absolutely fascinated with Gloucestershire, and one of my favourite books as a student, because I was a little bit boring, I guess, two books I loved. One was by a chap called William Dreghorn, a yellow book that you might know, that just has amazing pictures and drawings of local geology around Gloucestershire, and I get on my bike with my friends and we go and look at all these cliffs and look for fossils. And another one was The Landscapes of Gloucestershire. It is a book written by Alan Pilbeam, and he's done the footpaths of Gloucestershire. So a little bit of an advert, if you get the opportunity, go have a look, have a read of these books, because it was what got me inspired about Gloucestershire and the countryside. So schools are great places to find inspiration, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But I wanted to talk to you today about the kind of lights and the positiveness that exists within the organisation, because sometimes we might look at the accounts and we might look at those accounts and feel a little bit like worried perhaps about the direction of travel. We might look at the membership numbers and we might be a little bit worried about those. But actually there are so many positive things that are happening within CPRE Gloucestershire. So we can be really optimistic about our future. So what we've got, the way I'm going to do it is just kind of pictures that are telling us little bits of stories, little bits of information that hopefully you'll go away and think that us as CPRE Gloucestershire, we're doing a good job, and there is optimism. So the first picture that we're going to have a look at is the top left-hand side. So top left-hand side, in the middle, we've got Roger Mortlock, who you've just heard about, who was the old chief exec from Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust, who did an amazing job in his tenure there of about 12 years. It just massively grew in that time. So it's really exciting, and I'm really glad that Patricia's mentioned Roger, because I think it will make a massive difference to our organisation. We've got someone on the right-hand side. This person on the right-hand side, she is called Jane, and she is a volunteer at Halmore. She's not presently a member, but she is interacting with the CPRE through the work that we're doing in Halmore, looking at restoring orchards. And I think that's great, because there are times where we need people to interact with us that aren't members, because hopefully Jane one day will become a member. So it's about us working on these people and working with these people. And on the left-hand side of that picture, we have got Matilda, who is sat over there. So please do say hello to Matilda later on. And Matilda is making a massive difference to really promoting the organisation and getting the name of the organisation out there and known to younger people as well. So that's just fantastic. Top right-hand side is a project that we have been working with the Cotswold Canals Connected project and the Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust. And thanks to the Summerfield Charitable Trust, we managed to gain some money to do some planting. And in our second volunteering session that we had there, we had about, I mean, it was really, really busy. And we had about 30 people, volunteers, many of which weren't CPRE members, but they're starting to interact with the CPRE. Our name is getting known. It's really good to see different people coming to our different events. Bottom left-hand side, we've got the star count. And I hope that if you didn't do it this year, that next year you will do that. But we've been doing lots more of these within Gloucestershire, and we've got a hedgerow count, or a hedgerow sort of vitality project that we've been looking at, where people have been inputting data, looking at hedgerows in their area. I'll talk more about that in a minute. I'll talk about it now, in fact, actually. So if you haven't done it yet, I recommend that you do it. So there is a hedgerow survey. If you go onto CPRE Gloucestershire website, at the top, there's a yellow banner, and you can click on that, and it tells you how to do surveys in your local area. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes, and you go out, you can look at a hedgerow. It could be in your garden, it could be in your local park, it could be on your favourite walk. And what we're doing is we're recording the health of hedgerows, because sometimes a hedgerow may be recorded as actually being there, but it may be in a really poor state. So what we're trying to do nationally as part of the big help out is to record hedgerows to see what the health of hedgerows within our nation is. And that was a bit where I made it onto GMTV after lots and lots of work on bank holiday trying to get that. We managed to get some national press, some national TV coverage for it, which is just great. And then we've also had a lot of good publicity through the truck stop campaign, and we've raised a really good amount of money. This is one of the first appeals that I know that we've done within Gloucestershire, and we had a great response. Really, really impressed by that. And if you want to know more about that, then Max and Miranda will be able to tell you more about the campaign that we've been running there and the importance of it in protecting not only the Cotswold AOMB, but nationally the importance that it has. So some really, really good stuff that's been happening. I've got lots and lots of pictures again of people, lots of interactions. The top one, the top left-hand side, so we got Sir Henry there and his tour of his arboretum that was just really well attended. If you came along, I'm sure you had a great time. It was really, really enjoyable. Really, really great day. We've got a top right-hand side, we've got our orchard restoration project, and there it is. We managed to get some kind of corporate sponsorship out of that as well. So the project managed to get some money for some equipment from a ladder company that they make the orchard ladders. So we're trying different ways of trying to fund the organisation, not just looking at membership and legacies, but are there different ways that we can do that? We're trying to be honest, and just look around the room now. Unfortunately, when you look at the demographics of our membership, we're a little bit old, and we've got to change that. So we're trying different ways of interacting with different age groups of people as well. So here, bottom left-hand side, we organised a litter pick with the Gloucester Brewery. And the other good thing about that was, so we went out, and if you know just the other side of the river, you've got Olney Island, so we went over that way. The other good thing about it was, of course, lots of you may already live in the countryside, and our demographic typically is quite a countryside-based demographic. And we need more urban people. That's where a lot of younger people tend to live. So we need ways of interacting with younger people and with more urban people too. So we did a Gloucester, a little bit with the Gloucester Brewery, which is great. In the middle, we've got our awards, which has already been mentioned, and that's just a fantastic project too, because it really does get our name out there. And thanks to Richard and all the people that nominate awards. And the bottom right-hand side, those are my two children there, so that's an easy one in terms of, you know, GDPR and privacy and things. So they get plastered on everything because, you know, permissions. But that was a wassail for children that we did, and it was just a way of us sharing our name and sharing what we do with a completely different audience. So that was young people, that was children, and it was families. And again, it's just trying to think, how can we spread our message? Right. So the last couple of pictures, bottom left-hand side, we have done quite a few of the country shows, and it's really fascinating when you go, I would say, and I know there's lots of Prue and Elizabeth and Steve, I know. So lots of us have stood at the country shows, and when you talk to people and you ask people, have you heard of us? I would say probably only about 10% of people have heard of us. And so this is, I think, quite important at getting our logo and what we do and starting those conversations. And Prue, you've got a real hit with your map, haven't you? That just creates so many interactions.
People love a map.
They do. So Prue's got a map that looks at the allocations off the local plan and things, and people just don't have a clue. They don't realise that what potential development might be happening in their local area that's down in the local plan, so it probably will happen. So this kind of thing is really important at telling people and sharing our message. So if you're ever asked to help, volunteer, etc., please do, because it's a long day and we really do appreciate your help. Bottom right hand side, there is one of our members, so Jane Tovey, who was awarded last year. Well, she didn't win her category, but through Radio Gloucestershire and Make a Difference for the Stone Style project. And again, it's just a really good way of sharing what we do and sharing the kind of things that we're interested in. Top right hand side, there we have Patricia holding a cane, and this was a tree planting project that we did with so Catherine Lady Barclay School just down the road. And again, I think it's important to share what we do with younger people. And I'm just going to focus, the last thing that I want to focus on is Laura. So Laura, if you come up, please, that would be great. Poor Laura's being dragged up. I think young people are really important to our organisation because they are our future. And we've got to think about ways of how we can interact with them, because they come with so much energy and so much passion about what they do. So Laura, do you want to explain, to start with, who you are and what you've been doing over the last couple of years?
I'm Laura. I'm due to graduate from university in 2 months' time, doing a geography degree at the University of Exeter. In the last few months, I've been doing work experience with CPRE Gloucestershire on the picture in the top left. Basically. Yeah.
So what is the picture in the top left? What have you been doing and why have you been doing it?
As a team, we've been using geographical information system techniques to map the potential solar panel usage on industrial rooftops in and around Gloucestershire, focusing mainly on Gloucestershire and Tewkesbury. So using Google Earth, we're able to draw those little blue squares on rooftops in these areas, in industrial areas, and are able to see the potential area in meters squared of the solar panels that can fit on there, which we've culminated into a document to work out the total potential area for solar panels, with the aim of advocating for use on these sites as opposed to greenfield sites of agriculture in order to protect these landscapes and the biodiversity of these areas.
Absolutely. So nationally, we've been doing lots of work looking at this kind of thing, and there's lots of caveats. You know, perhaps the weight of the roof, the solar panels won't be able to sustain the weight. You know, the roof won't be able to sustain the panels and things. But it's just given us an idea as to what the potential is, and it will make a massive difference. So when we're at country shows, perhaps, you know, when Prue's at Frampton, to say, did you know in Gloucestershire, a team of graduates looked at Tewkesbury, Gloucester and Cheltenham and found there were X acres of roof space available. So if you look down the sort of Severn Vale around Frampton, there's huge numbers of solar farms that have been going in, and more are likely to go in as well. And perhaps if we can show people that actually there's other places we can put them, and this is how many square acres or you know, acreage that we've got. So if you get the opportunity, please do talk to Laura, and also talk to Matilda. Matilda's doing a great job at energising us and the organisation and helping the districts to organise events. So Matilda, do you want to, thank you, Laura, thanks. Do you want to say what events there are coming up?
Sure.
I don't mind. Come to the front. Yeah.
Hi everyone. We have some events coming up over the summer, so it'd be really great if you could come along too. We have a sheepskin guided walk led by Elizabeth, and that's on the 21st of June. We have a Forest of Dean summer meeting, and that's going to be at the National Perry Pear Centre.
Yeah, and Jim Chapman, we're hoping, will give us, he's like the country's expert in Perry pears.
Yeah. So that'll be really good. That's on the 12th of July. And then later in the year, so not for a while, we have our carol concert, which will be in Minchinhampton Church. Yeah. So that should be really good. We've got lots of fun things coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much. So there's loads of optimism, I think, ahead of us. My last slide, I've left deliberately blank. Okay. And the reason I left it deliberately blank is because I think we all have a part to play in helping this organisation grow. And I've got a few ideas as to what I think would help and what perhaps you guys could do. And so I don't know if anyone has any thoughts. Perhaps I just come up with them. I don't mind if we don't have interaction, if people just want to be quiet. But it feels like school children, no one wanted to say anything and everyone looks down.
Well, we haven't asked for questions, actually. We haven't given anybody a chance to speak.
Okay, that's where, should we do questions first? Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask me about what I've done?
Straight away, what Laura told us was very interesting. We're doing that in Gloucestershire. For goodness sake, this should be national, shouldn't it?
Well, so what I'm hoping to, they don't quite know this yet, but what I'm hoping, so these guys, we've got 3 graduates that are doing this, and it's fantastic energy. We've met a couple of times on WhatsApp, and we've had various meetings. They've gone away and then have kind of looked at the data. The kind of next bit now is collating all that data, and I want these guys then to write up a report. I would like them then to present it to Gloucestershire Board, because what they've done is just fantastic, and you know there's real energy there. And then I would also like to see if we can share that in some way within national CPRE, because to me it's a real shining light on young people and what can be done and that energy that they provide.
Voluntarily.
So, absolutely, yeah, they're not getting paid.
Adrian.
Well, it's also on the solar rooftop issue. I absolutely agree with you. There's a huge acreage, and now we've got some figures, which is even better. Not only on top of buildings, but also in car parks. But most of those are in towns. And I think to really make an effective initiative on this, you probably need to go in a partnership. And you have natural partners in all the urban areas in Gloucestershire, which are the civic societies. And we, because I'm now speaking with civic society from Cheltenham hat on, we get planning applications that happen all the time. We're repeatedly saying, why aren't the solar panels on the roofs of this new development? You know, in brackets, I think the government fails abysmally on that, because they could make that a statutory mandatory requirement for new buildings should have this and south facing roofs. So I just urge you to develop a partnership with the civic society. They meet as a group for Gloucestershire, so in that sense there might be an opportunity for you to work together with us.
Yeah, no, that's really useful. And I know certainly Richard Lloyd myself, we've been working with the National CPRE on helping the direction of travel. We've locally, we've been forming relationships. So there's the solar, is it Big Solar Co-op cooperative, and we've been had meetings with them, and also with Renishaw. We're trying to build, because Renishaw have done a fantastic job with solar panels on their all of their factories. So we are trying to sort of build those links and also show what can be done.
Prue.
This may be an inappropriate time to mention it, but I think we should be lobbying every political party to make it a condition of planning permission with all new builds that they have. It doesn't matter whether it's a shed or a house, that it has solar on its roof.
So we followed the kind of national response, so that we're kind of collective response, which has bits of that in it, along with helping sort of permissive development and things, making that much easier for businesses, etc. And Richard, you'll know more of the detail in that, and do ask Richard. But we have written to all of our MPs within Gloucestershire, asking them to, follow the kind of guidance from National CPRE.
My other inappropriate thing that I think we should be lobbying for is the reintroduction and the encouragement of the building of council houses, because councils don't have to make a profit, unlike building developers, so therefore they will be able to build more houses for the same amount of money.
Yeah. So again, social housing, and that's part of campaigns
because
through.
We have these horrid little things that get stuck in as 30% of the development and whittled down.
I think probably we're all in agreement.
We do need houses for people who can't afford to buy.
You're so right. Any other questions, comments?
I'd just like to make a comment. I just think Tim's been fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Last year, we did the Morton
Be
show.
careful, his head might swell.
Thank you.
But not really last, because it's terrific.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. That's really nice.
Anybody want to follow that?
Well, there we go.
Time is.
I've got one thing I need to say.
Oh.
So how can you help? That we answered that question. So I'm going to set you all a task, because actually you can all help, and it is a responsibility from us all to help the organisation. We're all here because we really do care. We are really passionate about, we believe in its aims and objectives. So how are we going to make sure that more people know about it? Well, things that we can do. We've got a couple of things. So we have huge amounts, absolutely huge amounts of these. These are, together we can help the countryside thrive. These are joining leaflets. So I would like you to give these out. Perhaps take sort of 4, 5, 10 and give them to your friends and your family, and try and think who might be interested in this. Perhaps drop it in as, to your friend when you're going around for a nice cup of tea and cake, etc. But think of who you could give this to. Perhaps leave it in your doctor's surgery, etc. This is another good one. We've got hundreds of these as well. So this is the Spring Views 2023. And these are, you will have hopefully received one. Maybe you've had it through email. We're trying to reduce our costs because it costs huge amounts to send these out. So you may have just had it by email. If you want to take a copy, do. We've got loads of these as well. And I would love you, again, to give these to your friends and family, to leave them in the doctors and the dentists, surgeries, etc. And I've got one other thing. I'm always kind of, young people, I'm classing myself in that. We do a lot of social media, and, whether it's Instagram or Facebook. And my mum, who is in her late 70s, also has Facebook, and that kind of started during COVID, because that was how they, through Facebook, FaceTime or whatever, that was how she kept in contact with the grandchildren. So could you put up your hand if you have Facebook?
Certainly not.
There we go, that's fine. I'm not judging you at all. So,
we don't do social media.
No, that's fine. If you do have Facebook or Instagram or any social media, so we're on Instagram and Facebook at CPRE Gloucestershire. Please can I ask you, really urge you to look up CPRE Gloucestershire and to follow it. And when you follow it, when you're looking at Facebook, looking at what the grandchildren have been up to, when you see one of our posts from CPRE Gloucestershire, please like it. Because the way Facebook works through its algorithms and things is it looks at how many people like it, and the more people like it and the more people follow CPRE Gloucestershire, the more likely it will come up on other people's feeds. And we want it to come up on other people's feeds because we want people to know about what we do. So the 3 jobs you've got to do is take lots of these, distribute those, take lots of these and distribute those. And then if you've got social media, Facebook or Instagram, follow us and like any posts that we do, please.
Can I just ask something, Tim? I can't remember. Do we have what a lot of other charities, I think, do is have a gift of membership for a year that you can give to someone, a friend or a relation?
I'm not sure how it can be done. I'll have a look and find out.
It's just a thought.
Yes, we're partly controlled by we're partly
Oh.
controlled by how National does it. So we don't have much flexibility unless it comes from National. But there is loads of conversations which are happening at the moment. So about once every month, once every 2 months, even Matilda and myself attend a membership champions meeting, and we've been talking about those sorts of things. So there is real optimism, and that's why I'm so positive. And with Roger, and actually before that, there's real optimism about things going forward.
We need to move on.
Sorry.
Because tea and cake are waiting, and so are people. And so we need to conclude this part of the event. Before we conclude, however, there is one last item on our agenda, which is secret. Was secret, but is now to be revealed. Namely, we have an award to make, and it's an award for Richard Lloyd for his wonderful service to CPRE in all its shapes and guises. So please come and take your certificate, Richard. Contribution and demonstrating and embodying, whatever that means, CPRE values awards. So Richard, you've been a star for what, 20 plus years?
Well, I got roped in on the day I retired.
Which was how long ago?
Oh, coming up to 20 years in 2 years' time.
Smile for the camera.
Give us no
Yeah, round the other way.
Yes, we need a photograph. Perhaps you'd email the photograph, Rachel, will you, to the office? But Richard has served not only as Vice Chair of CPRE Gloucestershire and Chair of our Policy Subcommittee, for which he does a huge amount of work, but he's also been on the National Policy Committee. You've been on various committees for the South West region, haven't you? What else have you done?
Cotswold Conservation Board, which is now the Cotswold National Landscape, with AGM, which was great fun and very, very
And
useful.
you're on the county thing. What's it, the current county thing?
Oh, the local nature park.
Yeah.
Yes, so Hillary is here.
So Richard, you're an absolute star, and I don't know what we'd do without you. And of course, Richard runs the awards as well, as I mentioned. So thank you so much. And please put that somewhere prominent in your house.
I will indeed. Just on the subject of the awards, it's a continuous process. So if you're aware of super projects out there which really, really are exemplars, if we can use that expression, something really great going on in Gloucestershire, do encourage people to nominate. This is a continuous process, and we're always looking for good projects. And it's an annual award scheme, and we 6 or 7 projects a year, something like that, go through the process. But we're always open to new ideas.
So that's it, folks, and I hope out there is tea.
Yes.
Right, so